Well, this is a rather important video regarding Bible prophecy. Um, so that is what I wanted to start with. So today is the 28th of November. It's Thursday. It's 9:44 in the morning, and our weather seems to be on an upturn. It's 58 now, high of 66. And starting around after 10 o'clock, it's supposed to be bright and sunny the whole day. Uh, Tomorrow we'll hit 67, then Saturday and Sunday 68, and then we go to 69, and then back it drops into the lower 60s. And for the next several days, we're going to have clear skies, but we might catch some rain in the middle of next week, so that's very far off for them to predict. Okay, let me make sure we got sound and picture. Um, There we go. We got sound and picture. We got sound and picture. Okay. So people will be coming in shortly, I guess, and I'm going to do some praise and we'll begin. Just a reminder, please don't use PayPal for offerings for until I tell you again. I don't think it'll be a long time. Some bureaucratic nonsense, and then you could use GoFundMe or Patreon or email me if you have some questions or something. I'm going to do some praise now. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Please pray that we get our electric hot water heater regulated. There's something astray there. It's working, but I'm not sure it's turning off. I don't know. Please pray for that. And we have some prayer requests that I do not want to forget, so I will do them now. For MF, uh, Mike Foxtrot MF, Mike Foxtrot MF, pray to get a good new job soon. MF, pray for a new good job soon. We have a prayer request for a homeless person. We don't know initials. The name is Wayne. Wayne, Wayne. Wayne, living in the streets, not a believer. Pray for person's life to stabilize better and come to faith. Okay? And we have a Taurus request for CB, Charlie Bravo, CB, Taurus request for CB. That's what I got for today. You can put prayer requests or Taurus requests in the chat, or you could email them to me in the description box, which should be under the video. I have offering information, and I have my email address at the very bottom. It's israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. So what's going on and how can we put it together with Bible prophecy is the question for today, and we will be able to do that, I think, successfully in a way where I can convince you. using the scriptures, convince you using the scriptures. Now, many of you believe me when I explain things and I don't have specific, scripture for that, but many of you don't, and that's okay. It really is okay. So, um, what we're going to look at, so the ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, Gaza is deactivated. They're doing, fighting against the Israeli troops in Gaza. And it's rather stupid what they're doing, and they're just getting themselves killed on a pretty much daily basis. Now, the ceasefire in Gaza is not that stupid. It is stupid and it isn't stupid, but anything that Netanyahu and Biden are going to cook up with Hochstein is going to be stupid. It'll have their hidden agenda in it someplace, but in reality, it's going to be stupid. And compared to Bible prophecy, it's another matter. Okay, so what's going on? We know Lebanon's going to be destroyed. Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. Lebanon goes. Okay, but it doesn't seem like it's going today. So the ceasefire allows us to keep troops in southern Lebanon, and they're there. And I'm thinking, supposedly they're there until UNFIL troops and the Lebanese army kick into gear and take over. The UNFIL troops that are there now will never do that. That's a guarantee. They haven't done anything for years and years and years. They're not going to start now. They're afraid of Hezbollah. The Lebanese army is also afraid of Hezbollah, and they're a rather incompetent, nincompoop army that is cowardly. Okay? So, or infiltrated by Hezbollah, or combinations thereof, I don't know. But they will probably make a presence there, but that's not enough. They have to demonstrate that they're going to stop Hezbollah from operating south of the Litani River. If they don't, Israel's just going to stay there for the 60-day ceasefire. Okay? Period. All right? And that'll take care of it. Their weapons were seriously destroyed. We don't know how much capability they have left with missiles, rockets, drones. Probably about 30%. There are videos of Hezbollah guys riding around in their cars, shooting their AK-47s around Lebanon and various places. And there was actually a video of some Hezbollah guy with his pickup truck, had a trailer hitch of a missile launcher on it and was driving it away from South Lebanon. This kind of stuff happens. Look, they say that we killed 4,000 Hezbollah, and I don't know, we probably wounded a considerable amount, maybe 2,000 to 4,000, maybe even more. How many of them are battle ready, I don't know. But they had 50,000 as an estimate to start, so we really didn't. I mean, if the wounded was 6,000, and it possibly could be even 7,000 or 8,000, we still didn't do much. 20% max or something, or 22%. We didn't get many. That's because Biden has crazy policies that conceal his agendas, I think. And he's bombing buildings and munition factories and weapons storehouses and command control centers. He's going after the real estate, which, the value there is, well, I'll explain to you, it's not completely idiotic. It's a deception thing against the U.S. and the world, because it doesn't create a very high death toll, but it does destroy their weapons. they're serious weapons, not the rifles and pistols and stuff, you know. And they have no houses to return to in South Lebanon. Yet they started going back anyway, right after the ceasefire. And we learned rather quickly that Hezbollah in civilian clothes was returning back to South Lebanon. Uh, we deterred some from coming with actual warning shots. I think on the first day there was some gunfire from Israel against probably Hezbollah. And the Lebanese government told them not to return to the south. They'd be in danger from the Israeli Defense Forces, and we made a similar announcement. So we seem to have stopped the flow of um, Hezbollah down into the south. And we're still patrolling, and if we see people who look suspicious, we encounter them and send them back, or we might capture them for interrogation, or questioning more likely than interrogation. And we also might fire at them, and they are firing some warning shots. So some jerk fired an artillery shell right after the ceasefire and some gunfire. And we see this from Hamas and stuff like that. A Lone Ranger has access to a missile or an artillery piece and he fires a shell. And, big deal. It's him trying to break the ceasefire. Israel's used to this from Hamas. Okay. So to me, and probably a lot of you and other people, the ceasefire getting agreed upon was rather a surprise. I didn't expect it. All this time with Hamas, there was no ceasefire. I was very unexpected with this. So, what was the knee-jerk reaction to this? This was insane. Hamas says now they welcome a ceasefire. Well, why would that be the case? Well, we can understand that with basic wartime logistics. Hezbollah is no longer going to be attacking Israel on a daily basis. Israel is definitely going to rotate their troops, send them home probably on 10-day leaves, rotating them around to, they can go home, sleep in a clean bed, take a shower every day, have hot meals, walk around, go to a restaurant, see their friends, right? And recover from the battle type conditions of living up at the border and see their families. More important, would be to see their families and then return. They might give them a 15-day leave or something. I don't know, but they're going to definitely rotate them to get them refreshed out of the battle zone. But they're going to leave a sufficient amount of troops there for sure. You cannot count on UNIFIL for anything. They are worthless. On a 10 scale, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, they're less than a 1. They're 100% window dressing, okay? These guys won't fight against Hezbollah unless Hezbollah went to their houses and took their wives and started raping them. Short of that, they won't lift a finger to Hezbollah. And even if they were raping their wives, they may still be too afraid. I don't know that for sure, but they are worthless. Now, the Lebanese army is on a 10 scale, probably a 2.5 or something. They might actually try to do something like put roadblocks up and turn people away. I don't know. Will Hezbollah start shooting at the Lebanese army? Unlikely, because that will turn the Lebanese army against them big time, because they're all going to come to the conclusion, A, they're going to kill us off one by one. So they have old tanks and artillery pieces and stuff, and they'll go after them, I suppose. So I don't think Hezbollah's looking to get into a fight with the Lebanese army, but Israel is not trusting this at all, which is good. That means Israel's trying to make this work. It gives Israel a chance to receive more weapons from America and other countries. It gives Israel a chance to do routine maintenance and servicing on military equipment, aircraft, various things, right? And what it really does when you're looking at Hamas in Gaza is it tells Hamas that Israel can now double or even triple the amount of soldiers that are in Gaza, rather comfortably too, that are in Gaza and bear down on them. Harder, and that means more of them are going to get killed. They have no deterrent value except the hostages. The UN Security Council thing got vetoed. There is no ceasefire without the hostages. So they know they have to give up the hostages for a ceasefire. Now, they're going to try to get 5,000 prisoners released from the Israeli jails for terrorist attacks, and that is unlikely to happen. If they negotiate for that, Israel will just increase the intensity of the attacks in Gaza. Okay? And they'll keep the humanitarian aid flowing to shut Biden up. They'll do evacuations of people from the north to the central and back and forth to make Biden happy. They'll do all that, no problem. They'll make sure that people have water and food and medical and all that. Okay. And Hamas has no chance at this point. It's just a slow death. Now, Hamas, the leaders are well aware of the fact that Iran has no radar to guide their missiles. That's the reality. And they know it. So Iran's not coming to their aid and assistance. Okay? Neither is Hezbollah. Yemen can't do anything. Their missiles are so, I mean, they have a hit factor of at most 5 or 10%, maybe even lower. It's probably 2%, their hit factor, 1-2%. It's nothing, and it could even be zero. Recently, I think it is about zero, or maybe 2-3%. It's nothing. They're not going to have any deterrent value against Israel, so they're going to get, thousands more will get killed if they keep it up. So they're saying, well, now we want a ceasefire. Okay, Iran ain't coming, Russia ain't coming. Neither is Hezbollah, and Yemen can't do anything, and the putting missiles into Syria has not been working, and Iraq is likely going to get hit by Israel. All right, so now we're seeing a ceasefire in Gaza. Oh, Israel will take them up on it whole hog to get the hostages back. I think if they give back, 50 hostages, they'll give them 50 prisoners. They're not going to give them 500 or 5,000. If they negotiate for that, then Israel is just going to say, fine, wait another month and see how many of you die. And the next thing is, let me think. See, they're going to try to ask for the moon and the stars up above, and Israel's not going to give it to them. The only bargaining chip they got are the hostages, and how many of those are left alive, we don't know. They've never given us a list. They've never let the Red Cross see them, and we have no information on their medical. And we don't know. They might have 10 hostages. We just don't know. Okay? So they see the end game. So then they're going to negotiate that they want it to be an end of the war forever, and Israel just leaves Gaza, let them smuggle weapons in from Rafa and all that. And that's not going to work. It's just going to get shut down immediately. It's going to go boom, you know. And Israel will say, you want a ceasefire for 60 days, we'll negotiate it, okay? We're going to still keep troops in Gaza. We're going to still keep the Rafah crossing closed. We're still going to patrol your waters. You're not going to get any weapons. You want a ceasefire, you go home with your families, and home is a tent, basically, for most of them. And, you know, we'll do that with you, okay? But we're not going to go ahead and let you rebuild and come back and kill us. That's just not on the table. I think they'll realize it rather quickly. A ceasefire is a ceasefire. Now, do these ceasefires have a potential to be kind of self-renewed after the 60 days, like referencing Hezbollah and Lebanon? Yeah, they do. Is that what's going to happen? Oh, no. No, I'll show you what's going to happen. But no, that's not going to happen. Now we need to talk about Iran. So Iran says, we support the ceasefire with Hezbollah. My gosh, they hate the ceasefire with Hezbollah. So they turned around and they said, I don't know exact words, we're considering not attacking Israel the third time. It would be the third time. Because they did the right thing with the ceasefire with Hezbollah, right? Or they may rephrase it, as long as there's no resumption of the fighting in Lebanon, we're not going to do any attack on Israel. They have no way to attack Israel except through Iraq or Syria, and that the prospects of that working right now are extremely dim, you know. So Iran made a good propaganda move by saying, oh, we support the ceasefire and we may suspend the attack on Israel. It's a way for them to get out of it without going around and telling anybody we got no way to guide our missiles. And Russia's in no position to do anything meaningful for, Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, or anybody in the Middle East. They're up to their eyeballs in problems with Ukraine. They're not in any position to start mobilizing and make a war here in the Middle East. They got bigger fish to fry. They're not that worried about it, okay? Let me go in the chat. Oh, we lost the internet for a few seconds. I don't know what happened. I don't know. But it looks like it might hold. We'll see. So we've covered Hamas basically wants to ceasefire. Iran just wants to step back. And that's a ceasefire in essence. Okay? We won't attack you, and then the hope is Israel doesn't attack back. And Syria, now this is very interesting. Bashar Assad has been facing what's called opposition forces. Then you got to listen to the whole explanation here. It's rather intriguing. He's a pig dictator, and he's killed millions of people to suppress a revolution. He inherited the country from his father, who was another pig dictator hating Israel. These are following a very small sect of Islam called Alawites. I think Alawite, Alawite, whatever, right? So you got Sunni and you got Shiite, you got Alawite. Bedouin is really kind of like that, and the Druze, a sect of Mohammedanism in a way, and the Druze also. And there might be another one or two floating around. Sunni and Shiite are the two very, very large, dominant groups. The other groups are very, very small. But Bashar Assad seems to be Alawite. Now, his military force seems to run at about 300,000, believe it or not. And they have some aircraft, not great aircraft. They have aircraft. And they have some Navy boats of a fashion, their Air Force and their Navy is not anything of substance to Israel. It's weak and old and not advanced. Their radars are very poor. Their anti-missile systems, anti-aircraft systems are not any good. They got old tanks, artillery, mortars, missile pods. They have missiles, stuff like that. He's a very harsh dictator, and incompetent for sure. He's had a civil war for about 12 years. So Netanyahu was talking publicly, addressing Bashar Assad like on television network, and he warned Bashar Assad not to play with fire. The reference would be helping Iran attack Israel. And then right after Netanyahu's public mention, the rebel forces retook 15 villages in Syria. That's a lot, 15 villages. They ran into a group of Russian special forces in Syria defending something, and they killed the Russian special forces. Now, does it sound a little bit like to you that they were receiving minimally intelligence information from Israel? It does to me. Does it appear that they may be getting weapons from Israel? Yeah. Does it appear that maybe Israel is sending IDF soldiers over there to train them? Not a high probability, but a very possible one. And they were having some victories a couple of days before, 2 or 3 days before. So they're on the march against Assad, and they're doing rather well. All of a sudden, they're really surging in victory. So somebody's helping them. America would help them too, because America doesn't want their bases attacked inside Syria or Iraq. And these guys are not that interested in attacking the American bases. They're interested in getting rid of Bashar Assad. And then there might be an influx of returning people from Syria that are in Turkey. They're in the millions. It could happen. I don't know. We don't get all the little details in Bible prophecy. We kind of get an overview, and we know the end result, but we don't always know, like, what was the trigger to bring this about. This type of information we generally don't get out of Bible prophecy. With the daughter of Babylon prophecies in Jeremiah 50, 51, and Isaiah 47, we get a rather strong amount of information, but again, not the little fine details. Okay. Why would God reveal that? Because then it would never happen. If he did, they'd steer away. So I don't think he he gives us what is important for us to know. We don't have all the little details. That's for us to try to work our way through. And, it says, watch. Yeshua told us many times to watch. And watch would mean, watch. The amount of people in the chat has gone down. I don't know what's up there. Let me think. Go back and bring the chat up again. I think that YouTube changed something. I used to be able to access the description box when I was doing a video, but a live stream and the setup. Now I can't. So they keep changing stuff. It's very frustrating. So Syria is about to possibly be deactivated by these rebels. Now, we need to do some kind of breakdown information. What I'm doing is I'm showing you a prophetic pattern here that I haven't really fully revealed to you yet, but I will shortly. Okay? So the chances of a ceasefire with Hamas, I'd say, are very high. So you got Hamas, Hezbollah, and there's no ceasefire with Syria because there's no real war going on, but the rebels are deactivating Syria. All right, now let's get into what kind of troops and stuff Syria has. Syria, the rebels in Syria are mostly Sunni, which are the peaceful ones, sort of, kind of, in a way, for now anyway. Just for now, I'd say. And they also, in the rebel army, they have Christians and Alawites. How about that? The Assad's army is about 300,000, and they're mostly Sunni. But the top positions are frequently held by Alawites. Iran does not appear to be fighting these rebel forces opposing Assad in Syria with their IGC. I don't think at this point Iran wants to have a war where it's Muslim killing Muslim because they're trying to form the caliphate with them at the head of it and the Ayatollah Khomeini as the caliph. Now, he did pop up on some video yesterday, so he may not be that bad off anymore. They were showing him seated in a chair while people were bowing down to him. Um, so if the rebels are not interested in having Russia or Iran military in Syria, because these entities, Iran and Russia, back Assad, they don't want him there. America doesn't want Assad there. They don't like him. They have bases there. Turkey doesn't care for Assad. He has bases there. He kills the Kurds. So you got America in Syria, Great Britain's in Syria, Russia's in Syria, Iraq's in Syria, Turkey's in Syria, Hezbollah's in Syria, Houthis are in Syria. It's not. It's a lunatic asylum. Okay. Um, so the rebels are not stopping. They're going to continue growing and continue dismantling Bashar Assad, and they could literally make Damascus a ruinous heap. They could. Doesn't tell you. See, Bible prophecy tells us Damascus will be a ruinous heap. Does it say Israel does it? Does it say Russia does it? America does it? NATO does it? The rebels do it? Or, yeah, we don't know who does it. Okay? It could be. They're going to be supported, I could just about guarantee you, by the UK, America, and Israel. America and the UK don't want their bases attacked, and Israel doesn't want threats from Iran coming into Syria. So they're all motivated, and they all know what's involved with supporting a rebel group. You've got to give them intel. You've got to give them comms. You've got to give them money because they can't work. They got to take care of themselves. And they can buy safe houses. You've got to give them weapons, training, tactics, and intel from drones and reconnaissance planes and interceptions of communications with the Syrian army, the Syrian army talking to the Russian army, and the IRGC and all that. And, not so much the UK, but America and Israel can supply that readily and easily. The UK doesn't have that many resources down here in the Middle East. So you see, that is winding down Bashar Assad. It looks like you could flare to a huge war, or I don't know. It's just starting, but I'm seeing a pattern. I believe I've been shown a pattern. Now, like I told you yesterday, there's things that I'm not going to tell you because they are not related to any specific scripture, and people are going to say, well, so I just don't do it. Okay? But believe me, it looks like this is what's going on. Without giving you details, it looks like it. All right, now what about Iraq? I'm not sure about Iraq. Who's going to hit it and when? Am I pretty sure Iran, Iraq, and Syria are going to get obliterated? Yep. Is it going to happen before the Zechariah 12 siege? See, I don't know. The Iran's not adjacent to Israel, so it's not really a siege country unless they move forces to other countries to surround us. The same with Iraq. It's not on our border. Syria is, so Syria may go. It may not have peace, it may just be Bashar gets busted up. Russia could try to help Bashar Assad kill the rebels, and America and the UK could then decide to help the rebels in a big way, a real big way. Don't know. But it looks like the threat from Syria is winding down and pretty good. Iran isn't going to want to bring more weapons and IRGC in Syria as long as the rebels are active, because I don't believe they want to have a war right now with Muslim killing Muslim, where they as Muslims kill other Muslims. I don't think they want that. They don't want that loss of popularity. Then they'll scare the Saudis, who are Sunni, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, UAE, Jordan, so I don't think they want that. Okay? So things are winding down for Israel, calming down. Do you understand? I haven't been hearing missiles and Iron Dome takedowns and drones and all that in a few days now. What, 2 days or something? And it's nice. It's probably going to last a brief while. I'll get into maybe how long, but it could be 2-3 months. And it enables Israel to rebuild. Tourists will eventually start coming in again, probably for Christmas. They come for Christmas. They go to Bethlehem and they send postcards to their friends and family. Wish you a Merry Christmas, greetings from Bethlehem. That kind of stuff. All right. So you're seeing a new phase here Israel was getting pounded by, let's count them down. Hamas, Hezbollah, not so much the Houthis, but some attacking ships for sure. They're not really attacking ships anymore. I don't remember the last time they hit a ship. It was a while ago. They're not functional that well. Okay. I understand America and the UK have been hitting various targets in Syria too. I don't think that aggressively, but they have done. So you have the Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. And then we were taking missiles and various rocket attacks to a small degree from Syria. And Iraq was trying to do more, but it was never overwhelming, but they did a bunch. They stopped. Syria stopped. The Houthis are diehards. The Houthis aren't gonna do a ceasefire with anybody. The Houthis, with Iran stepping out and Hezbollah stepping out, the Houthis would probably just cease. And they might say, they may wait for us, likely they'd wait for us to make a ceasefire with Hamas and then say, well, in honor of the ceasefire, as long as that lasts, we're out of it. We're calming down. Okay? Now, I am not going to tell you the man of sin, the beast, the Antichrist, whatever terms the church wants to use, is going to come here and make a covenant with Israel for 7 years and all this nonsense. That's, they don't make a covenant with the beast. It's just ridiculous. But that's not where I'm going at all. Okay? This is not Gog and Magog. That's down the road. Decades, according to prophecy. All right. So, at the same time, the Russia-Ukraine war is intensifying. I'm going to put this all together to you with the scriptures in a few moments, and you're going to see the pieces fitting together. You're going to get, oh, I see what's going on, right? Okay. Let me see if the chat is operating, if I can post something in the chat. Let me just do a test. Somebody just posted, yes, it's working. Okay. So what happened this morning? Just a few hours ago, it may still be ongoing, is Russia attacked Ukraine. They used at least 7 bomber jets. And I believe it was 4 warships that were able to launch missiles from the Black Sea into Ukraine. They are, one of the targets that we know about was the electric grid, the power infrastructure. Russia's heavily attacking that, wants to put Ukraine in the dark. Now, that's a pre-invasion thing. Why? Because it forces Ukraine to run on generators for their essential locations, buildings, command centers, intelligence, and that. And it makes things very difficult for the army in terms of communications, running radar, and various things. Radar probably has its own generator, but it makes things very difficult for Ukraine to function, the army to function with the power out. Okay, they got to charge equipment like communication devices, computers, tablets, computerized war equipment, things like this. Now, some of it has long life batteries, and they could charge some of it with generators and use vehicle. They can plug into the charging ports in vehicles and things like this. But it's an impediment, and it's winter, so it's hard. Now, as of this morning, we're not getting any damage reports as to what really happened in Ukraine from the attack. It'll come probably within the hours, maybe several hours, but we'll start seeing reports and videos and pictures. It's just not there yet. Maybe towards the end of the broadcast, I'll take a look and see if I can find any of that. But what's going on is thinking Ukraine's taken a shellacking. Now, America is talking about giving Ukraine nukes, but let's not waste time on that. They're also talking about giving Ukraine what's considered to be an IRBM, intermediate range ballistic missile, not an intercontinental ballistic missile. So, how far does an IRBM go? I don't know. They say 3,600 miles. I doubt that. But do they go, 600, 800 miles? Yeah, they'd probably go, 800 or something like that. One of them is the JSAM. They got one that goes 300 miles, another one that goes 600 miles. And I expect the 600 mile is probably what they're talking about. And then I would think that would fall into intermediate range ballistic missile in the reality world, not the media Hollywood hype on that, okay? And that would open up the door for Ukraine to attack. Now they can get roughly 200 miles, so then they'll be able to get 3 times greater. The amount of problems and difficulties for Russia that this would create would be massive. Massive. Now, Russia probably intends to run multiple waves of attacks on Ukraine. They're not using long-range ballistic missiles or intermediate range. They're using bombers and jets and stuff, fighter jets, I guess. So they'll probably keep it up with hitting more and more targets that they consider strategically important in Ukraine. Now, there's a multitude of things they could hit. They could hit railroads, bridges, highways. So I don't know what they're going to hit or what they did hit, but it'll come out. But it's definitely a massive escalation. And Putin's not sending, 30 or 40 of his bombers in yet. So the chances are high that what Putin is doing is deactivating the ground to air radar that Ukraine has that they would use to attack missiles and jets and bombers aircraft. One way to accomplish this is take out the electric grid, right? Radar uses a massive amount of electricity. You got like big cables like this. I mean, huge amount of power. And by knocking out its electrical grid, is the radar going to go down? Well, it depends if Ukraine has big enough generators. I would say a generator to run a serious radar setup is probably going to be the size of a small truck, like a U-Haul moving truck, a 23, 26-foot truck or something. I'm not an expert, but I'm guessing it'd be a big thing. Now, they might have some, but how long can they run them, Then you just attack the radar itself. If that fails, if hitting the electric grid fails, and the radar is still detected in operation mode, then you got to hit the radar. Putin has hundreds of aircraft, hundreds and hundreds. He sent 7. So he's doing targeted destruction to take out the radar. The electric grid is an excellent idea. And it also will interfere with radio communications and things like that. And charging phones and satellite phones and stuff. And then also, if that fails, take out the radar by hitting it directly. By taking out the power grid, you're definitely going to cause some more vulnerabilities to the radar if they are still functional. And then he'd probably try to hit anti-aircraft missile launchers and things like that. Several light attacks, like 7 planes, is rather light. And then when he opens up corridors where the radar is not functioning and they can't attack his planes, he could send 2 Pulov bombers in, which are not quite like a B-52. They're probably about half as good. They do break the sound barrier, which the B-52 doesn't do. But they don't carry that kind of payload. It might only be a third or a half, but that's a heck of a payload. And, I don't know how many of those Putin got. He probably has at least 25, maybe 50, maybe more. And he's got other kinds of long-range bombers, so he doesn't need long-range bombers, but they carry heavy payloads. So that's what it'll probably be phase 2, is bombings. And what would he go for at this point? Well, he might try to attack railroads and highways and bridges and routes that NATO would use to get into Ukraine to help them, predominantly through Poland and other places, but still restricting his attacks into Ukraine. Okay? And then, attack what? Weapons depots, fuel depots, like the electric grid and stuff, warehouses for the military bases, definitely air bases, and things of this nature. And that might take a couple of days. Or less. It may take some hours. And then Putin's got his 180,000 troops staged with lots of supplies. They'll invade. So this is the pre-invasion. Remember, I've told you a million times over the years, the way it starts is you take out the radar and the anti-aircraft defensive systems, and then you have air dominance. And then when you have air dominance, you destroy the ground forces, infrastructure that they need, that the ground forces need to run, and then you attack the ground forces, and then you invade. It's not rocket science. And the safest bet for Putin now is to occupy Ukraine and so-called win the war. But NATO's not going to sit still and let that happen. Germany's getting ready to build bunkers. They're not doing it. They're not going to go for it. Not Biden. Biden's on a mission here, probably working with the beast to destroy the daughter of Babylon before Trump, who's working with the whore, comes into power. So they want to get everything accomplished. But the everything they're working on right now is Russia and Iran. They're not working on North Korea and China. So the next phase appears that Biden, to deter Russia, which is not going to deter anything, it's just going to escalate, give them 300-mile range missiles, which up to by 100 miles, from 200 to 300, rough distances. So Ukraine can cause new definite damage inside Russia. We saw Ukraine hitting a uh, air base of Russia with attack them missiles that were using cluster bombs. We saw the cluster bombs coming down like little glowing balls from a Roman candle or something, or an aerial salute or something, and they were probably damaging the entire airport, airplanes, hangars, runways, control towers, radar, fuel, who knows what. These things, one of these missiles throws off 10 or 12 small bombs. It looked like 10 or 12, I don't know how many. It may be 15 or 18. It's not 50. It's not 3 or 4. It's a pretty good number. And he sent several of those, 7, I believe, and Russia said they took down 6 and 1 they damaged. But I believe, looking at the videos, Russia was lying. He may have taken down 1 or 2 or 3, but a lot of them found their home. So Russia lost planes, or damaged planes, likely. Now, he could have had armored hangars and these little cluster bombs. Most likely would not penetrate an armored hangar. In other words, 2 or 3 feet of reinforced concrete. These were small bombs, like, they're like a mortar round or a smallish artillery shell or something like that. But planes are easy to damage. If you run up on a plane with an AK-47 and shoot a good long burst, 12, 15 bullets into a Russian fighter jet or anybody's fighter jet, you're going to rip it up. They don't put armor on fighter jets. I'm sure they tried it. They'd love to have a fighter jet that could repel 50 caliber bullets. Okay? Getting a fighter jet to repel 20 millimeter shells, oh man, you're talking about flying a battleship in the air or something. Or, you'd have to you'd have to have at least 6 inches of, or maybe 4 inches, that much of serious armor, real serious state-of-the-art armor. How are you going to fly the plane? It's going to weigh, 20 times more or something? I'm sure they don't get them off the ground. To get them off the ground, they'd have to take jets, let's say fighter jets with 2 engines. They'd probably have to go to 6 engines or 8 engines. I don't think it's feasible. So instead, they went to a stealth version and make it very, very hard to attack. So on the ground, they're very, very vulnerable. It doesn't take much to damage them. A cluster bomb, a single bomb hitting a building isn't going to do much. But if you've got, the control tower, and you get 6 or 7 hits, little cluster bombs hit it in 5 or 6 or 7 places, you're probably going to get a good amount of damage. But you still may not deactivate the thing, or you might. I don't know. But you're not going to demolish it. Cluster bombs are useful to drop on troops. You create a lot of dead and wounded. So Russia's lying about, in my opinion, what happened. Because if he blew the missiles up, the cluster bombs wouldn't be exploding and the bombs wouldn't be glowing as they come down. I don't think Putin got them. Maybe he got a couple, I don't know. So Putin's safest move is to try to conquer Ukraine and then hope that NATO sucks it up and just goes about the merry way. And then NATO rebuilds their munitions and Putin rebuilds his. But this is end times, and that ain't gonna happen. So the wars are shifting over to Europe now. NATO's going to stop Russia. Okay? They're not going to let him take Ukraine at this point. So many billions of dollars later, why? And they know if they let Russia get away with it, Russia's not done. And what would Russia say? Well, we threatened the UK and the US and NATO, and they understood the mighty power of Russia and Mother Russia, and now they know that there's a new world order coming, and it's us and China and all this stuff. And, you know, America is well aware of the fact that Russia and China and North Korea and Iran want to destroy them stealthily and quietly with BRICS selling oil. And, you know, the Saudis already stopped selling oil for US dollars and euros, I assume out of fear of Iran. The UAE is in BRICS, as is Iran, as is Russia. So if they break up Iran and Russia, the UAE and Saudi Arabia are weak and they blow with the wind. They're afraid America won't back them right now, so they're trying to make Iran happy. But they didn't go out and sign any mutual defense treaties with Iran, or, you know, make Iran their bosom buddies or anything like that. So the UAE and Saudi Arabia would likely fall into line with America and start selling in US dollars and euros, but Iran and Russia won't. And if they're defunct and non existing, well, then the threat from BRICS is greatly diminished. India and China are there because they want to buy natural gas and oil, beating the sanctions, not paying in euros or dollars. And when the value, when there's no more UAE doing it, no more Iran, no more Russia, and Saudi Arabia is now taking dollars and euros for their oil and gas. Well, what next? India and China say, well, there's not much point in hanging around with BRICS anymore. It's not going to deactivate America, and they're just going to put more sanctions on us. They were trying to destroy America financially, along with NATO countries, European Union specifically, and they could have done it. Biden, curiously, is now talking about, well, the Social Security and the people that get disability in America is going up 2.5% next year for inflation. Guys, that should be 8 or 10%. Now there's talk about Biden bumping Social Security up by another $200, something like a month, which would begin to enter the realm of fair, you know. But, you know, if they bumped it, it still wouldn't be correct, but it would help people a lot and help the economy. But why would Biden be doing all this? Because it's going to burden the economy even more for Trump in a way that Trump can't deal with it. Trump can't turn around and say, well, we're revoking the $200 a month increase that Biden gave you. He can't do that. So all Biden will do is start the payments in January, and Trump inherits it. That's a major drain on the economy of America. See, Biden is with the beast, and we could call him old Biden, and he's trying to appears he's trying to destroy America. Burn her flesh and eat her in Revelation 17, and Trump is trying to revise the Whore of Babylon, DC, and make the daughter of Babylon great again. That's, we know, never going to happen, but Trump is trying. Biden is trying to throw everything at Trump not getting into office, or giving him so many problems. Biden's trying to light the world up before January 20th. He's doing all the things with Ukraine that one would do to create a world war. He probably doesn't want to light up China and Russia at the same time. Maybe he does. I don't know. But he's concentrating on Iran and Russia. And they seem dead bent on wanting to crush Russia. Now, we need to talk about Canada. Oh, yeah. Oh, we need to talk about Canada. So, what's going on in Canada? In Montreal, Ottawa, let me get my notes. There's three cities. See, giving Ukraine longer range missiles just makes Putin's position untenable. And Putin could throw the towel in and say, okay, we quit, we'll give Ukraine back. But that goes against everything Putin's trying to accomplish. That's not going to happen. I don't think so. Things are happening very quick right now and differently since Trump won the election. And what's going on in Canada is even more impressive when you understand Bible prophecy. I'm going through my notes. Give me a second. Oh, North Korea troops, there's reports, and I would expect that they're legit, that they're defecting over to Ukraine. In other words, they're tired of eating rats and rice and not even a lot of that. So they're going to the Ukraine side. I saw a picture of K rations for Ukraine troops a couple of years ago. And they looked sort of like K rations. And, you know, during World War II and in Vietnam era and North Korea, I don't know about the Iraq War, possibly then. Um, in the days of Vietnam and World War II, you had about 50% of Americans smoked. Now, I grew up there, and it was very common for people to smoke. My parents didn't smoke, but they had ashtrays around the house, and people would come in the house, and adult friends that smoked the whole place. Some people would smoke pipes, cigars, and cigarettes were a massive amount. Now, I believe in World War II era, the cigarettes that were being smoked didn't have anywhere near the amount of chemicals that they do today. I'm rather sure they put potassium nitrate in it, which is what you use to make a fuse. Potassium nitrate's an ingredient in black gunpowder. I think whatever the other ingredients are, you know, and they would make fires burn easier. So with the potassium nitrate, they probably spray it on the paper or the tobacco, and it makes it burn easier. So I think that went on, but I don't think they had anywhere near the amount of chemicals that they do today. So what they did with the K rations for the soldiers is they had little packets of cigarettes, and they were four. Some were 5 cigarettes, some were four. Okay, and they had Lucky Strike, Philip Morris, Marlboro. Um, the soldiers didn't get an opportunity to control if it was a filter or not a filter. A lot of the tobacco, the cigarettes back then were non-filter. They had Chesterfield, Lucky Strike, uh, Camel. What else? Can't remember, but they probably had filtered cigarettes they gave to. So it was luck of the draw. The guys got a K ration. They couldn't get their, you know, brand. They just got what they got. Now the K rations would say, uh, you know, uh, beef stroganoff, uh, chicken and noodle, or stuff like that, right? They had breakfast meals, they had a lunch meal and a dinner meal. So the guys would get 3 ration packs a day, and each of them had 4 or 5 cigarettes in it. So the guys would be able to smoke during the day. So they had either 12 or 15 cigarettes for the day. Now, a lot of the people didn't smoke, so what they would do is they would trade their cigarettes for the dessert, frequently like rice pudding or chocolate pudding or vanilla pudding or banana pudding or whatever they have for dessert. They had little apple cobbler. They had various things. The guys had a little stand and they had these little things that burned some kind of a combustible in there, and they would put the K ration on there and they heat it up or they put it in their plate. It was immature, but they gave them the cigarettes. Why did I get off on this? Oh, the North Koreans. So I looked at their K rations and they looked pretty minimalistic, but they had a half burned cigarette in there. What the heck was this? The guys that were making the rations, part of their compensation was they could light the cigarette and burn half of it, smoke half of it, put it out, and then the half would go into the ration. I'm serious, I saw this, okay? So they would open the rations, because guys were buying North Korean rations to go put them on YouTube as a novelty. And they were even eating them, and they looked in there and they packed one half used up cigarette for the guys, for the soldiers. That's how this idiot treats the soldiers. Seriously. So seeing them, first of all, Ukraine was killing them, and now they're just saying, this is stupid. First of all, they don't recognize Ukraine as an enemy of North Korea. What, Ukraine goes to North Korea and invades and robs the houses and rapes the women and kills the children? Come on. Ukrainians never stepped foot in North Korea. They say, why are we fighting these people with our lousy stinking dictator tells us to go get killed? So, white flag, hands up, no weapons, and Ukraine's taking them in. And I understand that that it's not just surrendering, it's defecting. We'll work with you. How do you think the Russians treated Ukraine? Well, they probably had Ukraine soldiers probably had military police watching them, and they don't want any part of Russia either. What would Ukraine do? Probably give them a citizenship, whatever that's worth. They don't want to fight. Maybe they're defecting to Ukraine and Ukraine doesn't want them. They don't speak the language. What are you going to do with them? Maybe they're double agents, blah, blah, blah. And just release them and they just wander around Ukraine. I don't know what they're doing with them. Keep them as POWs. They're probably living much better as POWs. But could you imagine giving your own soldiers a half-burnt cigarette? Could you picture the disdain? I knew a guy, one of the guys that really taught me how to shoot many years ago was the chief pistol master for Jeff Cooper at Jeff Cooper's property where he trained shooting, and um, he was traveling around teaching courses. I took 8 days with him, and he really opened my eyes to shooting. And that was after I was already in law enforcement and left law enforcement, and it really opened my eyes how to shoot. When I was in law enforcement, being an old guy, we used to point shoot, which is not hard to do. You got to keep this part of your arm level to the ground, absolutely level to the ground. That's the big thing. Now you're not going to miss up and you're not going to miss down. And you squat a little bit, and they had you put one of your hands. Now, mind you, most cops were running around with 38 specials, and the hand may accident a great idea. Anyway, you kept your elbow in, and you squatted, and you had this part level with the ground. Now, all you had to work on was the left and the right. So you would draw like you were going to punch the person and squeeze a round or two. It wasn't that hard to do, and it's rather fast, but Jeff Cooper figured out that you go like this action and this action, and you lock it in, and then you shoot. And Jeff Cooper favored the 45 ACP. Now, I saw, people at Robbie, well, the guy, I don't want to use the guy's name, but he was able to hit on target, at 100 yards with a pistol. Amazing, but 98% of your shooting is going to be 25 feet or less, okay, with pistols. Um, if you train at 25 feet, you're fine. You should train at 25 and then maybe 15 and then maybe 7 or 8. In an American civil court system or criminal court system, if you're shooting at somebody at 100 yards, and you could get instruction, there are schools around America that would teach you how to do it. Not everybody's going to pick it up. But if you worked at it and you kept going back for these training courses where you live at the place for usually anywhere from 3 days to a week or something, and you go back for more advanced courses, you could pick it up. But why the heck are you shooting somebody at 100 yards? What are you doing? You could get in trouble for that. Aggravated assault, homicide, because how do you prove that you were at risk, that your life was being threatened if the guy's 100 yards away? Well, if he has a sophisticated rifle and a scope, yeah, okay, but it's anyway. So there's a problem with the North Korean soldiers inside Russia. But the chances are that Russia was interested in using these soldiers just to show America that he has unity with other countries that will be helping him to make a scare deterrent tactic against NATO, that hey, I'm not alone, and you better watch it, don't push too hard, and things like that. Hang on a second, I want to see what this is. I don't think it's anything. Okay, so that's what we saw. Okay. Um, So this thing with Ukraine's going to heat up. Don't kid yourself. Now we're back on Canada. Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto. Canada's building 10 cities for illegal immigrants. The amount of illegal immigrants that Canada has is estimated to be at the high side 600,000. Now, those figures are not for today, but they're up there. Since Trump got into office, the amount of illegal immigrants going into Canada, I'm sure, is soaring. Because why? Well, we'll go into America in November, and then in late January, Trump's president, and they'll send the border police to get us. They might beat us up, starve us, rape us, hit us. The countries they come from, this is what happens. So they're not happy. Canada's not that bad of a place to live. Let's go to Canada. Now this idiot Trudeau is building tent cities for them. Now, don't just think it's a tent city. Let's get real. The Canadian government is basically sending a message to them. Come here. We'll build housing for you. Okay? Now, Canada is a cold place. I know people in Canada, and when they cook meals and they have leftovers, like maybe they made a rack of lamb or a turkey and they got leftover and this and that, they take the plates, they go into the garage, and they put the plates down in the garage on a table and they just leave them in the garage, and you have like a freezer. To see temperatures, below minus 20 in Canada is not rare. Okay? And the insects are usually hibernate or they're dead. They don't function in that kind of weather. Okay? So how is he going to do that in the tent cities? Well, you can't put people in a tent. Maybe you have a fly over the tent to keep rain and snow off. But you're gonna freeze to death. The tent doesn't really keep you warm. So what do you do to make a tent warm? Build multi-layers of canvas? You could, but what you do is you put an electric heater in there. Now, you're probably not going to be able to sit around in your shorts and, do your internet and stay warm, but if you keep your clothing on and a jacket and a hat, you'd be okay. Probably you could keep the temperature with a heater, I would say, over 50 degrees anyway, maybe 60 in the bad winter, I don't know how they're going to do it. But, that's what you'd have to do is put an electric or a gas-powered heater in there of substance to keep the place warm. And so he's going to heat it. Now, is he going to let them starve to death in these 10 cities? Oh, no. They're going to have a place to eat. So what will they do? They'll set up dining rooms, and they'll probably give them a meal card. And when they want to go for breakfast, they'll swipe their card. And if it shows they already came in for breakfast, they'll get kicked out. If they haven't, they can have breakfast. And they can, so maybe that's between 7 and 8 in the morning, or 7 and 9 or something, right? Then between 12 and 1 or 12 and 2, they go in and they swipe the card and they get their lunch if they haven't already had one. Then they go back at maybe 6, 7 o'clock and they get their dinner, right? Now, people are going to get sick there in the harsh weather, right? Okay. So is Trudeau going to just leave them there in the tent city, hacking their brains out till they die and get rigor mortis? And then people drag their bodies outside the tent and leave it out on the street and they get frozen. No, he's going to set medical up there. He's going to treat their old, long-lasting diseases and stuff and that. So what's he going to do? He's going to take the doctors from Canada and deploy them working for the government and, keep the people healthy. Okay? Is he going to give them pocket money? You bet. They'll set up at these tent cities a commissary where they can buy stuff like candy, soda, various soft drinks, tobacco, gum, deodorant, floss, aftershave, razors, perfume, hair tonic, hair shampoo, soap, like a prison commissary, basically. But I understand he's building these tent cities right in communities, like across the street from where children play, so they could just walk out of the tent city and go rape your family or rob stuff. They're not going to be put inside barbed wire with armed guards at a tower like they did with the Japanese civilians in America in World War II. They couldn't get out. They'd have to go through multiple fences, and they had military police watching them. They may not shoot them, they would just apprehend them and probably put them in a prison setting after that or something, or they could shoot them. But the Japanese people didn't run out. And they had, I was in these leftover places, and many years ago I was in them, and I'll tell you what they looked like. They had barracks that were built like this, boom, 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 like a U, and they had like canvas tarp dividers, I think it was. So the family had a little area, okay, and they had storage of their goods there because they were allowed to bring suitcases. And they had a setup where they would cook, they would make their soup and heat food up, and they got food from the government as well, and they would drink tea, I guess, and maybe they washed clothes in that little area, and then they had a sleeping area that I think was also segregated off, like a soft curtain, like what you see in a hospital, where they divide a room for 2 or 3 people, something like that. And they were able to have some level of privacy anyway. And I believe I know what they had in there when you went into the bathroom now, it would have been divided into a woman's side and a men's side, and they had a bunch of sinks and mirrors, and they had stalls with a toilet, and on the men's side they would have had urinals, I guess, as well. And they had hot and cold water, and that's what they had. They had no air conditioning, they had provision for heat, they had lights, and I guess at night they did lights out. I don't know what time, probably 9 at night or something. They probably shut the lights, and probably at 6 you can turn them on, or maybe 5, I don't know. And that's how they did it. That's how they lived. But that's probably similar to what Trudeau would set up. You can keep huge amounts of people in these tent cities, but a lot of them probably don't even want to be in a tent city. They just want to be out in the population. So, is the amount of illegal immigration going to increase in Canada immediately? Yes. Why? Because Trudeau is throwing out the welcome mat. Hey, we'll give you a place to live, man. Come here. Ottawa, Toronto, and Montreal, those are nice places. Got a place to live. You're going to get food, you're going to get medical, and they might stay there in the winter, and then when does Canada warm up? April, I guess. Hit the road in April. But they're also going to deviate from coming to America now to go to Canada. because they know Trump's on the warpath against the migrants. Why go to America? You just have to leave, go to Canada. Now, does Trudeau close the border between Canada and America? No. Does he intend to do so? Not that I know of. Is America in the process of building a border fence between Canada and America? No, and that would take a year or two or longer. No. Now I drop a bomb on you with scripture. I have to look the exact verse up for speed, so let me look it up. Jeremiah 50, verse 26. Now, I didn't see this before, but I'm seeing it now. See, as the events unfold, they come into focus better. But wait, I haven't given you all the bombs I'm going to drop yet. Wait. Scripture, though. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly, let nothing of her be left. That's the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, America. Jeremiah 50, verse 26. Let's talk about the words utmost border. These are in Hebrew, so we can make sense of it. What they call utmost is from. Okay? Min, so it doesn't really mean utmost. They don't get that right. And then the other word is ketz, and oops, let me get back there. I lost it. This means extremity. That's what Strong's first choice is. They say utmost border, it could be utmost extremity. So where do we go with this? Are we still on Russia, North Korea, China, go across the Bering Straits to Canada and then come drop through Canada and come into America? Yeah, but now we got a wild card emerging. There's, in America, 60 to 70% of the illegals are military age males. Do we have any reason to believe that that would be different in Canada? I have no reason to believe it's different. Now you're at 500, maybe 600,000 now, and it's likely going to soar from here. So these are sleeper agents. If you just go with, say, let's say it ups to 700,000, okay? When the eggs hit the fan, okay? I'm being rather conservative, and I'll just run it on the calculator. You got 700,000. Now let's use the low figure, 60%. 420,000 sleeper agents. That's an army of considerable size. That's about where the Israeli army usually is with the reserves on. We could get bigger than that, but I mean, that's a serious army. But it could even be 700,000 rather quickly. Sleeper agents. That's huge, huge. And then, yeah, Russia, China, and North Korea could easily, China and North Korea go through Russia, go to Bering Straits, and come in and reinforce them. They're all on the same site. Let's talk about what countries these Canadian illegals are coming from. The most dominant, or most of them, most of the illegals are coming from India. India is heavily Muslim. Are these people Hindu, Muslim, Christian? I don't know. I can't find any statistics on it. They could be Muslim. Okay? They may not be, but they could be. Now, let me give you a list of the other countries that also have a presence there. I wrote them down. Let me find it. I thought I wrote it down. I remember some of them. Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. Okay, these are the cities that they know that illegals are coming from with reasonably serious numbers, okay? Uh, India would be number one. Iran, China, Pakistan, Nigeria, Afghanistan. Did you get scared yet? One more time. India, Iran, China, Iran, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Afghanistan. These countries are in the top 10 nations that have illegals coming into Canada. So there's serious numbers from these countries. You getting it? You should be. I'm taking my notes down as I cover them, so it's easier for me to go through my notes. So since Trump won the election, things are going very, very fast. The beast and the people that support the beast, like, oh, Biden, don't want to see Trump take office, and then they lose their opportunity to destroy the whore, which is the DOB. So they're executing their plans very quickly to make sure Trump doesn't reverse all the evil they've been trying to set up. Not that Trump is such a great guy. Trump himself is barking about World War III now. Now, as time unravels, the people in the United States may realize what Biden is doing, and this could cause ruler against ruler, which is prophesied in Jeremiah 15:51. To be a ruler, you have to be somebody like a governor, a mayor or something, Could we call Trump a ruler and he leads a rebellion or revolt or civil war, whatever you want to call it, against the United States? Technically, legalistically, he's nothing until January 20th, but he's not exactly nothing either because he's a president-elect. Now, the Democrats may try to pull some wild card move. I don't know what. I mean, and crazy things could happen. Biden could have a heart attack, get sick, drop dead, get paralyzed. His dementia could overcome something. I don't know. And, then I have no idea. They might try to postpone the election and then Trump rises up and, you know, if it's not the election, the swearing in, if it's January 20th or 21st to make it easier and Trump wasn't sworn in, Trump is basically the president and he would be a ruler. But then Biden wouldn't be a ruler either. So, I mean, I don't know what the trigger for the ruler against ruler in America is. It may happen when America's attacked. It may happen when the sleeper agents are unleashed. They'll both happen at the same or close proximity to each other. I don't know. We don't get the triggers for this, but we know it'll happen, and time is short. All right? All right, let me look at the chat, see if there's questions, trolls. The troll count was on the low side today. Let's see. Alan Dershowitz, I don't know much about that guy, honestly. All right, now we'll get into prophecy. And I've been talking about this in the past with you. So we're going to go to Malachi 3, which I covered yesterday, so I'm not going to get that deep into it. It starts off, behold, I will send my messenger. The word is Malach. In Hebrew, it's just Elijah. And he shall prepare the way before me. John the Baptist was preparing the way before Yeshua when he was on earth. He got killed. He had the spirit of Elijah. They asked him if he was Elijah. He says no. The Elijah will be operating on earth, preparing the way for Yeshua to return to earth. At the end of the second 70 years is when Yeshua will come back, as per Daniel 9:24, the 270s. Every single Hebrew manuscript, going back to 900 AD, the oldest ones, does not say 70 weeks in Daniel 9:24. It's the same exact word. Shavim, Shavim. It means 70. The first 70 was 70-year Babylonian captivity. Thus, the second 70 is the same thing. Just to, again, it starts with the appearing of the Son and the Son of Man in the clouds, seated at the right hand of power. And that's when the Israelites and the true believers get everlasting life. I know this is foreign to a lot of you. You read Zechariah 12, especially verse 10. Read 1 John 3:2. Read Matthew 24, verse 30. Read Revelation 1:7. You could play this over again, then, write it down. But I can't backtrack and do every Bible prophecy. Would be here for hours and hours and hours. So it says, and he shall prepare the way before me. Okay, who's the Word made flesh? Yeshua. So Yeshua's the Word. So he's saying Yeshua. Before me, and Adonai, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. So there's the next temple, and he comes to his temple suddenly, so the temple's already there before him. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom you are delighted in. That's either the glory of God of Israel, which I don't think he's the messenger of the covenant, but he worked as the messenger of the Ten Commandments with Moses on Mount Sinai. So I don't know. But probably when it says messenger, Malach, it's referencing Elijah. Probably. Whom you delight in, behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of hosts. Probably referencing Elijah. But who may abide the day of... Now, the Jews know that Elijah's coming. When they have Pesach, Passover, they set a place setting for Elijah. Some of them have chairs with Elijah's name on it. They put plates and silverware out and pour wine for him, and if it's safe enough, they leave their door open for him to come in. It's mythological, it's not biblical, it's just some tradition they picked up. It's not real. He doesn't come. They also say that he attends the circumcision of every Jewish male child. This is Talmud nonsense, okay? But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, the Levites. Now that would include the Kohanim, because Kohanim are also Levites. So the Kohanim are a certain branch, or part of the Levites that had descended from Aaron. And purge them as gold and silver, and they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Jehovah, as in the days of old, as in the former years. Now, that is putting the blessings of the law, which you could read about in Deuteronomy 28, on Israel. And that explains Zechariah 12:6, where we're under siege, Jerusalem and Judah, and the two witnesses, which are called in the King James the governors, they actually should be called the judges, burn them up on the right hand and the left. So that's a complete total victory without any wounded or injured, and we never get invaded, and they're not looting our houses, raping our women, killing our children. None of that happens. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, the adulterers, against the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, the fatherless, and that turn aside the stronger from his right, the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah. Well, that is probably their destruction, which we read about in Malachi 4, but we'll get there. This would line up with Ezekiel 34. This lines up with Zechariah 13, verse 8 and 9, where 2/3 get cut off, but the 1/3 get raised up in the Lord. For I am Jehovah, I change not, therefore you sons of Yaakov are not consumed, even from the days of your fathers you went away. Well, I'll read the whole thing, I guess. Therefore you sons of Yaakov are not consumed, even from the days of your fathers you have gone away from mine ordinance and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Jehovah of armies. But you said, wherein shall we return? Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Okay, well, let me just not do it so I can make my points. When we see Elijah training the Levites, it doesn't make any sense to me that there's even the tabernacle or the temple there, because it says in Ezekiel 37, the last three verses, that we'll have the tabernacle also. So it doesn't appear to me that the tabernacle or the temple are there while the rockets and the drones are raining down in Israel. Makes no sense. You got it? So I think that there's a temporary peaceful time before we get into the actual siege. And the siege would probably take place for some time anyway, maybe hours or maybe weeks, I don't know. Okay, and it goes on, and says, will a man rob God, yet you have robbed me? Well, I should go on, I guess. And I will come near to you to judgment. I will be a swift witness against. Okay, so we talked about that. And then we talked about them. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring you all the tithes into my storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith Jehovah of armies, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you. The windows of heaven means the rain is going to come down, which is essential in this part of the world, and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sake. That's the bugs that eat the crops. And, caterpillars, locusts, palmer worms. And he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith Jehovah of armies. And all nations, all heathen nations, shall call you blessed, for you shall be a delightsome land, saith Jehovah of armies. Your words have been stout against me, saith Jehovah. Let you say, what have we spoken so much against thee? You have said it's vain to serve God, and what profit is that? We have kept his ordinances, and that we have walked mournfully before Jehovah of armies. And now we call the proud happy, yea, they that work wickedness are set up, yea, they that tempt God are even delivered. Then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another, and Jehovah hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him. This is kind of a flashback on the way things were for Israel, I believe. And that thought upon his name. And they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of hosts, in that day, when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. Okay, now we just roll into Malachi 4. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud and all that do wickedness shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of hosts, that they shall leave them neither root nor branch. This could mean the enemies of Israel laying siege to it. It could also mean the two witnesses burning up the bad Israelis that are still around, that are serving the unclean spirits. But unto you that fear and just doing evil, with or without the unclean spirits doing evil, but unto you that fear my name, that fear his name, shall the Son of Righteousness, that word is Shemesh, it means son, that's Yeshua, arise with healing in his extremities. That's what it says that the tassels were all around the outer borders of the robe type garment they wore. And you shall go forth, and you shall frolic about like calves from the stall. And that's when you see, so it appears that they get cut off before the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man. So they don't get everlasting life. They're goners. But it also appears that the Satan bots in Israel are going to be around when Elijah was here with the temple. And that would probably be to give them a chance to repent. They'll see lots of miracles, signs, and wonders from Elijah to prove who he is, and teachings. And of course, they'll reject that because they're in love with the devil and the unclean spirits. And they could join in with the people laying the siege against us. They may side against us at that time, at that day. They may try to help them because they're Satan bots, and Satan told them, you got to work with the people laying siege. I'll take care of you. We're going to take this country over for ourselves, that sort of thing. And they, oh, okay. And they try to work with the people laying the siege, and that's why it appears they get burned up at the same day. Does that make sense? Okay. That's how it looks to me now. That's the view from here now. It looks like it's a decent theory, a good theory. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his extremities, and you shall frolic about as calves from the stall. You be young again and have everlasting life, which is not immortality. You'll live like the people did before the flood. They went over 900 years, but you'll have a double portion. So my people's days shall be like that of the tree. The child shall die at 100. Now you understand what those scriptures mean. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord. Now, the people laying siege are still outside of Israel, so the good people in Israel would not really be treading them down because they're inside Judah and Jerusalem. So these ashes are probably the ashes from the bad ones in Israel, the 2/3. That makes sense? Because that wouldn't defile the land. The burned up the ashes don't defile the land. Okay? There's no dead bodies laying around or vultures or anything like that. Remember you the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Eliah. Okay, his name is Ha-Navi. Ha means the Navi means prophet. Navim is prophets in the plural. Ha-Navi is the prophet. You could say Eliah or Eliyahu. That's what his name's going to be. John is Yochanan. Ha-Navi. He's also a prophet. So you would say Yochanan Ha-Navi. Okay. And if you want to refer to two of them, you would say Shine Navim, two prophets. I wouldn't call them martyrs, call them prophets. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Now the heavy stuff is about to come right now. It's been pretty good so far, I think, with the video, but now it's going to get heavy. Just checking the chat. I don't think we're having trollitis today. Okay. I got to read you some scriptures because I'm doing all this right now just with scriptures. Okay. Well, one of the things we see, I should get this covered first, that we see in Zechariah 12 is Verse 2, behold, this is God talking, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day, it's all that day, that day. So the enemies get burned up in that day, and the evil ones in Israel get burned up in that day, that day, that day. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth, it's really saying call, goyim, all the heathen of the land of Israel be gathered together against it. So it's the evil heathens in Israel that say they're Jews and stuff, and they're serving Satan, and they're evil. They're the ones that are going to gather against it too. But what it really is saying here, though all the goyim, and then it says Israel gathered together. So the actual Hebrew is this for the end, okay? It says, though all, okay? That's not the text. The text says call, which means all. Then it says the people. That's an incorrect translation. The word is goyim, and it means heathens. Now, you could be a heathen and impersonate being a child of God, but you're still a heathen, a false believer or something, right? Though, okay, so call all goyim of the earth. Well, the word is eretz, of the land, is what it means. So this is not all the people of planet Earth gathering against Israel, because there would be nobody left to create Gog and Magog some 60 or 70 years down the road, 60 something years down the road, right? So it can't be all of them getting killed. So it's the Goyim of the land of Israel be gathered together against it. So you have to also expand this. Israel is given by a covenant to Israel from Jehovah from the Euphrates to the Nile. So it's those countries that are also surrounding us too. It's not just the bad ones in Israel. Okay? Because when you read Zechariah 12, as we're doing, you'll see that. In that day, again, that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. Well, that's a very good thing. And Judah's really predominantly who's here in the land now, the tribe of Judah and Levi. And the governors of Judah, it really should be the judges, because in Isaiah 1, God says he's going to run Israel with the judges again, like at first, which were Moses and Aaron. They were both judges and they were both prophets. And it also says with the counselors, the 70 counselors. So, and the judges of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my son. This is twisted. It's saying the inhabitants of Jerusalem are saying Jehovah of hosts is my strength, my God. The word for strength is Amsah, which is strength. So it's not saying that the two witnesses are saying that. He's saying that the inhabitants of Jerusalem are saying that. So they messed this up. They don't want you to understand that there's a lot of real believers in Jews for Jerusalem at this time. That's the motive in twisting it, I think. In that day, again, that day, will I make the governors or the judges of Judah, and listen hard to this, the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. And they shall devour, it's better translated burn up, and they shall burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left hand. And Jerusalem shall be it's saying being inhabited, remain still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. Nothing happens to Jerusalem, it stays there. So he says it twice because there's two witnesses. It says the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and the other place it says, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they devour all the people round about. Well, that's not just the evil ones in Israel. That's the ones in the other countries surrounding our border. Now, to surround Judah and Jerusalem, you need to surround Jerusalem. And let's call this tip of my finger Jerusalem, where my thumb and index finger are, is the West Bank, which wraps around Jerusalem north, south, and east. The West Bank has 2.5 to 4 million Palestinians which hate us. These are the ones that would gladly go to war against us, the majority of them, if not all of them. So they are going to rise up and surround Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not in the West Bank, although the East Jerusalem is. But that's how that has to happen. The geography can't lie. That has to be like that. Jordan has 11.5 million Palestinians that hate Israel that could easily push into the border of the West Bank and come with them or without them and surround Jerusalem. So that's going to happen. The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. The feeble old people would be like David, who killed Goliath, who killed the bear, who killed the lion, who was a great warrior. Well, I don't think they're feeble anymore. Let's keep reading. They were feeble. And the house of David shall be as Elohim, as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. That would be like Michael. He killed like, I don't know, 140,000 in one day, a number like that. Oh, we'll be fighting again. That's in the scriptures. And it shall come to pass in that day, that I will seek to destroy all the heathens that come against Jerusalem. Now, maybe it's the bad ones in Israel. Oh, I didn't think of this. Maybe the West Bank doesn't rise up. It's the bad ones in Israel that surround Jerusalem. That might be it. That fits better. The bad ones in Jerusalem surround, in Israel surround Jerusalem. And I'll explain why they'll do that. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So he pours the spirit on them. Now they're believers. His spirit's poured out on them. They're believers. And then what happens? And they shall look upon me, that's Yeshua, the word made flesh, whom they have pierced. That's when they stuck a spear in him when he was being crucified and the water and blood came out. So they see him, and that's Matthew 24:30. The sign of the miraculous sign of the Son of Man appearing in the clouds, sitting at the right hand of power, which is Father God Jehovah. Why at his right hand? Because I think it's Psalms 110:1. The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Well, Yeshua's enemies, when he appears, is not yet his footstool, so he's still seated at Father God Jehovah's right hand. So they both appear. Okay? Now it says, when you see him, you shall like him. You shall be like him, because you see him as he is. You see the resurrected Messiah. John 6:40 says that the believers that look upon him shall have everlasting life. And that's exactly what happens. That explains the feeble fighting like David in the house of David, fighting like Michael, the angel that was with Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadramon in the valley of Megiddon, and the land shall mourn every family apart. So don't let them tell you this already happened. because in the land, every family is going to be mourning because they realize that they, in the past, their ancestors killed Yeshua. Okay. So, what does it look like it's going to happen? First of all, you can't stop Elijah and kill him. They ain't going to work. Apostle John's going to be around somewhere, but you just can't kill until it's the end of the beast time. Nobody can kill the two witnesses. Okay, that ain't happening. And they can put any kind of plague they want. So if somebody, let's say 29,000 soldiers or police are coming at them, they could just blind all of them, deafen all of them, and paralyze them so they can't move. I mean, they pick whatever you want. Put boils on the soles of their feet and the palms of their hands. They can't handle weapons or walk. I mean, we can do this all day, right? God brought quail to the Israelites to eat in the wilderness. Bring 500,000 ravens to have at them. We can do this all day. Bring a flood. Darkness. I mean, call fire down. We could do this all day. So, they're going to try to teach the wicked and the evil because I expect some would probably repent. Now, the church is going to be in grievous confusion because they've been taught all along that there'll never be another temple. They're the temple of the Lord. They're the true believers with the Holy Spirit are the temple of the Holy Spirit, not the temple of the glory of God of Israel. That's an absurd. But they don't even know about that. They don't even know about the glory of God of Israel. They don't understand it. They don't think the two witnesses will appear until the closing days or the days of the tribulation. They're completely confused. They think the Lord is dead. What did Yeshua say in Matthew 5? Think not that I came to destroy the law, but to fulfill. For as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. And the one that teaches and does away with in his own life, the least of these commandments shall be called the least in heaven. But those that teach them and do them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So if you're going to do away with one commandment, you're going to still be there. But if you're going to teach all 300 or something commandments are done away with, I wouldn't look for you very hard in heaven. If your name was George, maybe I'd go, hey, George, are you here? And I wouldn't say it a second time. Okay, I wouldn't expect you to be there. That's my opinion on this. All right. The Lord is not done away with. As long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with. So when they teach that, they're going against the words of Yeshua. If you're going to ask me why your church is teaching this way, you should figure it out yourself. It's not hard. It's obvious. Ask the Lord if you doubt. But I mean, it's rather obvious. They have another gospel. They teach another Jesus that moved the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. And people have another spirit in there, not a Holy Spirit, a different spirit, a bad spirit. 2 Corinthians 11:4. Read it. They practice division with denominations. A house divided unto itself shall not stand. Do you think they're going to be around for long? So are they going to advocate that the two witnesses are the beast and the false prophet? Likely, but we have to see. But let's take this to a deeper level. See, the Muslims, mostly the Shiite variety, which are heavily in the countries around us, are not getting wiped out, like Hamas and Hezbollah are not wiped out, so they're going to be around for a while anyway. They believe in their narrative from Islam, based on the Hadith, not the Quran, the Hadith is an extra Quranic book that has extra teachings in it that the Sunni Muslims don't put much respect in, but some of the Shiites do. Now, the Hadith and the Quran to me are nonsense, like the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I don't give them any respect. It's just a man's background. So, they believe that Israel is going to have the red heifers, which we have apparently, or we think we have them. Make the, kill the red heifer, sacrifice it, burn it, make the. Now this might happen when the temple appears. It's in the law. It may happen. It may not. It may not be necessary at this stage, but it may be. So Elijah would probably get direction on this. The red heifers get killed in the altar, and then they take the water and you put the ashes in the water and make this holy water, and then they sprinkle the ultra orthodox. Now this is the ultra orthodox and the Muslims theology. I'm giving you now that reality. So the idea is now with the red heifers, the ultra orthodox won't go on the Temple Mount, where it's not really the Temple Mount, but they say it is. It's the site of the Roman fort, Fort Antonius, next to the temple. But and that's where the wall comes from, the Roman fort. But by saying it's a wall from the temple, they can make Yeshua out to be a false prophet, because he says not one stone will be left standing. Okay, but why would Yeshua care about a Roman fort? He didn't care. All right, so I mean, he knew what it was doing, but it wasn't a serious thing like a temple. Okay, so they're teaching that when with the red heifer they make the sacrifice and they have the water, they'll sprinkle it on the ultra orthodox, of which, counting women and children, there's 1.2 million. And they will then start to go up on the Temple Mount to pray, because it's a holy site to them, an incorrect site in the temple, but they think it's the right site. And they will purify themselves with the oil and be holy and go up there, and then they're going to see the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they're going to get infuriated and rip them down. And then them and their, rabbis are going to build another temple, one built by rabbis, and they're going to have a false Messiah, which they have a name for, called the Dajjal. And this false Messiah is going to tell them that they have to kill all the Muslims. And before that, they'll probably knock down the Dome of the Rock, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the narrative of the Muslims. Mostly the Shiites believe this. I guess some Sunnis probably do too. And so they say that Islam has to rise up and fight against this Dajjal. So I guess, we're playing pin the tail on the donkey as to who the Dajjal is. You would evolve into pin the tail on Elijah, because they would think he's, or Apostle John, he's the Dajjal. Now, the churches would likely think, regarding Elijah and Apostle John, one is the beast and one is the false prophet, because they're going to be advocating doing the law, doing sacrifices, and they're going to say, oh, we're trying to return to bondage. So Satan's been prepping his church people for a long time to reject the two witnesses and the next temple. Okay? Some people won't receive this, most won't, but that's what it is. It is what it is. So we're getting very close right now. So the phase is changing. Now let me give you the scriptures that explain to you the phase changing, so you understand what's being fulfilled now, because things are being fulfilled. And I'll go through it with you. Let's start with Romans 1:16. And I'll explain it to you and then give you a breakdown as to what's going on, and you'll see it. As I said, this is a very important teaching. For I am not, this is Paul, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Messiah, Christ, the anointed, really. For it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, that says Judah, that's the two tribes that are here now, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. The Greek is not the Goyim word, which could be applied to the 10 lost tribes who are without God, the Goyim word means. The Greek is not them. The Greek is the nations. The Jews believe first. Okay. For, we're going to get better verses, more focused than this, but you got it now. To everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, first is the key word. Okay, next verse 17. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. The wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God, it is manifest in them. For God hath showed it unto them. All right, we'll go to the next verse, which is very profound. Romans 2:9-10. Tribulation and anguish upon every soul, okay, of man. Yeah.
Still on the air?
Yeah.
Okay, your breakfast is ready. Church is coming.
Okay. Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Goyim. Now we're using the Goyim word, the heathen, which could be applied to the nations or the 10 lost tribes that don't know who they are. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Goyim. So, yeah. For there is no respect of persons with God. So everything, the good and the bad, happened to the Jew first, which is Judah. The Jew word means Judah, which is Levi and the tribe of Judah, with a sprinkling of Benjamin, very slight amount. Okay. So that's being fulfilled. Let me lay it out a little better for you. We had, since October 7th, we've been taking missiles, drones, terrorist attacks, car rammings, bombs, shootings, stabbings, car lynchings, when they rip you out of a car, carjacking, something like that. And it just stopped 2 days ago. Well, the terrorism still goes on, but basically, we're not seeing much of that at all. All the drones and the missiles, the rockets stopped. Nobody's attacking us. We're shifting into a different phase or cycle now. Got it? Now, if the peace treaty blows up tomorrow, we're back at war, well, then I wasn't right on the timing. It'll probably be a new settlement that'll resume peacefully again, I would assume. But I think this is the way it's working. I can't imagine Elijah teaching the Levites to do the sacrifices and so forth. And there's at least a tabernacle there, if not a temple, probably a temple. And if they do the sacrifices correctly, the glory God of Israel goes in the temple. And we're going to have this with missiles, rockets, and bombs coming down. This next temple comes from heaven. It's not New Jerusalem. It comes from heaven. I covered that with you in Ezekiel 37 so many times. We don't build it. The rabbis aren't building no temple. First of all, there's no time for it. Second of all, they don't have the directions or the instructions as to how to build it. You know, read Ezekiel 43. We're given the law and the ordinances and the operation of the next temple. We build the altar. It says we build the altar. But that's not in the temple. It's in the inner court, near the temple, near the eastern steps to get in the temple. But it's not part of the temple. It's in the courtyard, the inner courtyard. And that we build. And we're told how to build it and how big it is and so forth. And we got to purify it for 8 days, you know. But the could Elijah actually work with just an altar? Yeah, but I don't think you'll see that. I think you'll see the tabernacle or the temple. I don't think it's going to be just an altar. We read too much about the tabernacle and the temple to believe that. I don't think that's the case. So, it could be used to get the offerings acceptable to the Lord, but I really think it's going to be the tabernacle. So, there's going to be a lot of people turning against Israel, but you see, we've had our tribulation and anguish for, let's see, for, I don't know, 13 months and a half or something like that. And it just stopped. It feels weird. I'm telling you, you've seen me on the air while you heard explosions several times. You know, I did that with you. And it's nothing now. You know? Beulah's barking, Mommy's barking, Yaffa, you know, we don't hear explosions. The dogs are very happy. They never liked the explosions. They hated it. Mommy go hide under the bed. Beulah would freak out. You know, I mean, you know, they didn't like it at all. You think we did? No, we didn't like it. We got used to it. We didn't like it. But now it's shifting to the nations. Well, what do you mean, Moshe? Look at Ukraine and Russia. That thing's ready to go into critical mass any minute. Not so much any week, any month, any year, maybe any day, maybe any hour even. And that means Europe and Russia are going to go to war. And if you think Iran and China and North Korea and Venezuela and Belarus and Cuba and Venezuela, I said Venezuela, and some of the stand countries are just going to sit around and do nothing, yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong. They don't want to lose Russia. They want to still destroy America and the European Union with BRICS. And that ain't happening. And they're now waiting for Trump because Trump's got a head on his shoulders and Trump could defeat BRICS. He already has his own digital currency thing. He's talking about getting rid of the Federal Reserve. That cancels the American debt. You're going to hurt 10 or 15 people that sit on the board of the Federal Reserve, and you're going to bail out 350 million people. How about them apples? See, they don't want Trump there. The beast doesn't want Trump rebuilding the daughter of Babylon. The beast is disappointed in the daughter of Babylon. The daughter of Babylon has created a false Israel and false churches and a false democracy, and it's failed. People have left the church and found the truth. Messianic people believe in Yeshua or in Israel. Netanyahu doesn't want to walk right. You know, he has his own path. And, you know, they don't want it. What does the beast and Satan like the most? Statue worship, sticks and stones. That's why they make an image of the beast that talks, the statue that talks. And people go crazy for that. But that's decades down the road, guys. First, there has to be a falling away. And before you have a falling away, they got to first come into the faith, the Jews and all that. And not in yet. How are they going to fall away? More scriptures. And let's see, John 4:22 and 23. 22, 22. You worship, you know not what. Okay, you worship, you know not what we know, what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. You see, the gospel is not going to be spread around the world from the nations. They have a false gospel. I've been telling you this for years. The gospel comes from the Jews. And Elijah is going to open it up to them. Then it will spread. Now, you people have the true gospel, don't you? Well, sit down and think about that. Okay. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So when Elijah trains the Levites, they're going to have to know the truth, who the Messiah is, who the Son of God is, the firstborn Son of God, and they're going to have the Holy Spirit. So they'll need a water baptism. No? Sure. They're going to need the baptism of the Holy Spirit. No. And then preceding, they're going to have to have the faith in Yeshua. You got it? You think he's got his work cut out for him? I think it's going to be a lot easier than you think for him. Because he's got Yeshua and Jehovah working this out for him. What do you think? God is the spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. All right. Now, one more scripture. See, I told you this was very important. Yesterday was pretty good. This is better, right? These are both good, both important. Luke 24:47. Luke 24, okay, 24:7. Saying the son of, no, 47, I think it was. Let's check. Um, 24:47, and that repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name among all nations. That's your, heathen nations. I was gay. Beginning at Jerusalem. So where does it start? It starts in Jerusalem. And we read in Zechariah 12 that in Jerusalem there's a lot of believers. And their strength is in Jehovah. And if Elijah's training the Levites to make the sacrifices, the odds are extremely overwhelming, about perfect. It's in Jerusalem. I mean, it's not in Elad or Tiberias or Haifa. It's there. beginning. It starts at Jerusalem. It's about to start, but you already have it. How did that happen? Think. If I lay it out too much, you won't believe me. Think. Ask the Lord. And you are witnesses of these things. And behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you, but tarry you in the city Jerusalem until you be endured with power from high. See, in those days, they did receive the Holy Spirit and they spread the gospel, but then came the 2,000 years, the night when no man can work. The punishment for killing Yeshua, 70 AD, Romans burning the temple and taking them to Rome, 200,000, the believers leaving Jerusalem before it happened, all that stuff, right? That's when everything fell flat. Now it's starting up again, but it's going to start to the Jew first, and it's going to come from Jerusalem, from the land of Israel, to the nations. Some, probably most or all of you, will experience tribulation and anguish to some extent. I went through it here. You're not going to be busted up and ripped apart by it, but you're going to have to learn to deal with it. And I did, and it wasn't that hard, really. It's not going to be that hard. You'll have to deal with it. It's not going to be that hard. Okay? He's going to take care of you. So do you see now why I'm saying we're shifting and we're a lot closer to Elijah working openly? You all come into Israel from America, probably on the ships of Tarshish and other ways, and then the nations. No, the nations are going to get it. I mean, it's pretty soon Europe's going to light up as I see it, unless you think they're going to talk peace and safety. I don't see it. I see Jeremiah 30:11. Look, I'll read it to you again, and we'll cover it on a different angle. Jeremiah 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah. He's with us to save thee. What's the word for save? Come on, you know what it is. Yesha, to salvation you. Don't say save, salvation you. Though I make a full end of all the goyim, the heathen nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. It looks like the correction in measure is coming to a rapid close. Everything's calming down. Do you think it was not punishment for 13 months of boom, 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 car ramming, shooting, bomb, burning, stabbing? Oh, come on, it was horrible. Hostages taking the guy. I mean, now it's calming down. Do you know how close we are now? Close. Close. To quote Jackie Gleason, how sweet it is. How sweet it is. It's close. It's close. Is Elijah going to be working alone? Well, it doesn't say. I mean, he should be with Apostle John. Yochanan Hanavi, let's start with the right words. John the prophet. Eliah Hanavi. Elijah the prophet. Eliah v'Yochanan Hanavim. Elijah and John the prophets. Not John the Baptist, Apostle John. Okay. I don't know, maybe you guys will be around for that one. Elijah's going to need some support and help, don't you think? He did work himself against, what was that schmuck's name? Jezebel, her priest. He was pretty much by himself there, wasn't he? So maybe he'll run by himself. But what's Apostle John going to be doing at the same time? You might see him in your home country. Maybe he's going to gather and bring the people back. You can't kill him or Elijah separately. There's nothing going to kill him. Literally, guys, they could send 900,000 soldiers at him, at one of them, and that would destroy them. They could send 19 million soldiers at one of them, and they could destroy them. It doesn't matter what they send at him to destroy him. Okay? It doesn't matter. There's no contracts on them. There's no assassinations. There's a time at the end. It's many decades down the road. So you'll have a chance to know them. Why not? What, are they going to run away from you? Don't run away from them. That's moronic. I mean, that's like your big brother, you know. Hey, this bad gang kids want to beat me up and steal my lunch money. Just stand behind me. I'll fix them. You know, that's your attitude. You know, don't get off into standoffishness with them because they're going to kill millions of people. That has to be done. That's prophecy. It has to be fulfilled. Prophecy must be fulfilled for you to progress on and spend eternity with Jehovah and Yeshua in heaven. Come on, it has to happen. Don't get hung up on that. A third of the angels in heaven tried to rip God off and steal heaven. The schmucks. And they're the idiots that are down here now. Gross schmucks. You don't want people like that getting up into heaven. It'd be worse than the angels, probably, or as bad, or not as bad, who knows. But it ain't going to happen. Okay? It's prophecy. It has to be fulfilled. All things work to good for those who love the Lord. So don't start running away from them. I don't think you will, but don't let that get in your head. Okay? If the churches start teaching there to be some false prophet, what do you think is going to happen to the churches? Oh, fire. You can't mess with them. They're not going to put up with it. This is restoring the kingdom. Whom the heaven must receive till the restitution of all things. That's Elijah's job, restore all things. You see, beginning with the Levites. Is that not restoring all things? Having them make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord, which brings in the blessings of the law. Which you're going to be just like, huh? Huh? Where did I get all this riches from? I own a piece of land. I own a house. I have servants. I got livestock. Huh? I used to sweat paying my rent. I used to sweat my electric bill. What? Huh? Where'd this come from? You know. It says in Zechariah 13, verse 9. No, Zechariah 13, around verse 3. 3, 4. Maybe it's 2. And it's now this is a continuation of Zechariah 12. The verses and chapter numbers are artificial by the publishing houses. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. That would include Islam. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirit to pass out of the land. So are we going to have any demon-possessed people in the land anymore? No. Imagine living in a country with no demons. Nobody coming over and doing the evil eye garbage on you, staring and telling you your eye or anything. No, it's all gone. Soon, soon. Combine what I'm telling you today with the possibility that Isaiah 61, the acceptable year, could be a Jubilee year, and the year rotates around mid-February. That gets you excited. We're almost in December. Do I know if Trump will ever be sworn in or not? No. I mean, I could ask the Lord. I should, but I don't know. I mean, it's, so what? He's one of them. If you wanted to perpetuate the daughter of Babylon on a good, sound economic and military footing, Trump would be your boy. But do you think God wants to perpetuate the daughter of Babylon? Let's take a look at the chat and see what the trolls are doing. Why do we keep getting kicked out of countries? Well, how about this? God says he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered us into. So all the countries that we got scattered into that treated us bad and kicked us out will soon be destroyed. Why don't you put that in your pipe and smoke it? They were a waste of time, weren't they? But I can't avoid the temptation. I have to come up with the scriptures. So today we covered a lot. We chopped some wood. And my email address is israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. There's more information in the description box under the video, like offering information and other things. I don't know if the description box is still showing up in the videos because YouTube seemed to have changed some of their controls for the live streams this morning. I don't understand it, but I'll check later and see what this live stream has or doesn't have for a description box. Who knows? YouTube's a black box. What are you going to do? They do what they want to do, What else can I tell you? Chief's doing pretty good. Please keep praying for him. He could use a little more work. My wife, definitely keep the healing prayers coming and pray for peace, safety, protection, and joy, and better videos, and the peace of Jerusalem. And when we have peace in Jerusalem, it'll be good for Elijah to work, won't it? Pray for the 2 witnesses to start working openly, that God gives them the green light. They're both here in Israel, waiting for the light to go green, you might say. And I guess that's about it. I hope you got something out of this. There's a lot here. Most of the church world won't understand. And wow, I almost went 3 hours. That's a long time. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. And that's it.